Hey, hello everyone. Welcome to this 61st edition of Clarity Chat and part 11 of Ask Me Anything AMA. As always, I begin this session by thanking everyone, all of you, for your encouragement, engagement, and interactions. This week's Clarity Chat has a new roller coaster to share with you. Our streaming provider, I don't want to name it, but like many foreign companies, they didn't comply with the RBI norms of card payments, and because of that, we struggled to renew our subscription. Um, and I was traveling during the week, so that didn't help either. Um, there were support requests that my team raised to them, but you know how support works. Finally, I sought some divine intervention from my friend in the US, a classmate. He used his credit card today morning for renewing my subscription. I still need to pay him back. And that has finally ended my anxiety. And now we are live on this 11th AMA session of Clarity Chat. So today we will discuss our own presence, my own LinkedIn presence. I'll answer your questions and clarifications if you too are trying to build a more effective presence on LinkedIn. I'll share some do's and don'ts conceptualized from my own hands-on experience. Of course, there is enough and more, literature out there on how to gain followers and how to build a strong LinkedIn presence. What you will get from me is my personal experience. Yeah, as since we'll be discussing LinkedIn, you can share your feedback on what is going as per your expectations or outside of your expectations in terms of in terms of what I publish out there. Well, so for now, these solo clarity chats give me an opportunity to interact directly with you. I'll answer your live questions, pick up some unanswered questions from the backlog. So one of the questions that we will pick up is whether customer is serious about the project or not. Is it budgeted or not? How to find out? And I realized that, our second clarity chat, we had a good discussion about it with Manish Gupta, Group CIO of Aditya Birla, and we'll play an excerpt from that and discuss that. Okay. Another one is about the key skills navigate to help us navigate to outcomes. We'll have a quick discussion on this. What type of skills we require? This came in the last clarity chat, and we could not pick it up because of the time constraints. And of course, we'll balance these with the questions from you, live questions from you. As always, you can visit us in the virtual studio. Ping me in the comment box if you wish to join the studio. My team will send you the virtual studio link to connect via live conversation. But for the next half an hour to 45 minutes, let's talk real and practical stuff. Let's give relief to the gyan for over the weekend. You'll get honest answers, case studies, and practical approaches, first principles. It's all experiences, no gyan. But before I go ahead, as always, I'll request my audience to share your name and where you're joining from in the comment box of LinkedIn and YouTube. I still don't see much action out there. So come on, guys. That really gives me encouragement. So please do share your name and where you're joining from. So once again, thank you all for attending. Um, let's discuss some top of the mind topics in an informal setting in this Clarity Chat. So no questions so far. Please, this is Ask Me Anything session, so please do shoot your questions. But meanwhile, let me take the first question and the topic for today, which is how to build a strong LinkedIn presence, the do's and don'ts. So let me first narrate, my story of LinkedIn presence, and then we'll bring in some do's and don'ts on the screen for you. I came out of the corporate career, and I had done a tons and tons of transformation work. But I realized that there's not many people who know about it, and it's partly because when we are working our asses out, we don't really spend the time to talk about it or time to socialize it. And therefore, how will anyone know what work you've done if you don't talk about it? We tend to assume that people should know or people have to know. But I think my realization was that's a wrong assumption. Uh, you will have to talk about what you've done, what you have contributed, right? So, so I started writing, started small by writing those text posts to make them a little bit, I would say, live and real. We started, we started, I started learning Canva, okay, and started putting some nice little creatives on my posts. Slowly went to Canva Pro subscription, and uh, and then that gave me access to richer set of pictures, images. I took some quick courses on Canva, and after a while I realized that, hey, you know what, I need some help here. So one of my old colleagues was looking for work, and I said, why not you help me? And she was a creative person, joined me. She started doing some artwork for whatever posts I had to write. So the first thing that uh, I fixed for myself, like in terms of my LinkedIn presence, was be who you are. Okay. Um, so I mean, no airs about like what I want to be or what I want to be looked at. It's like who I am, what I have done. I just need to talk about it, and I need to be confident and proud about like what I am, where I come from, what I represent, etc., etc. So the first lesson for me was be who you are. So don't try to pretend to be somebody else. um, the second biggest learning was that as you dig into your experience, you will find that there is so much which is out there, that you have done, and you can simply talk about those experiences. It need not be like some grand experience. It need not be like the big ones, but small things that you have learned, small incidents. And instead of what we typically tend to do as people and professionals is that we talk about that we try to take the essence of an experience or something that happened to us, and we just tend to talk about it, that you should do this or you should not do this. But I think the real learning is in the experience itself, is in bringing out or narrating what happened, how it happened, who were the people involved, right? And the moment you convert that into storytelling or experience sharing, it has a different impact, and you don't then really have to talk about you should do this, you should not do this, right? So I decided that I will typically talk about my experiences, and even when, like, you come across something, a nice knowledge article or something, I will connect it to my experience. It should not be a sort of commentary or a critique of something that I come across. And I think all of us can do that. That's something simple and easy to do. Is when something clicks or something resonates, let's go a little deeper into why did it resonate with me? What is it that gave me that aha moment? There has to be something in your experience. There has to be something in, like, your observation, where you say, oh yeah, this really makes sense. And so that's a number two. Connect to connect your experiences, talk about them, and even when you come across something which you want to share, try to connect it to your experience, right? uh, there is a big question that many of us face as the pushes and pulls of, like, our LinkedIn presence is, um, that I should talk about it, but why? Am I going to be am I going to come across as a narcissist, okay, or am I going to come across as, like, self-aggrandizing egotist, okay? I found the why for being present on LinkedIn. A very strong why is to pay forward. So um, I always looked at it that, when I was a youngster, when I was fresh out of college, when I was 5 years into my job, when I was 10 years into my job, I was always looking for advice. I was looking for insights. I was looking for these experiences, learnings, uh, you can say sometimes gyan, from all these people who had been there, done that, and and learning from them. So well, at the time, that kind of platform, LinkedIn type of platform, was not there. um, and one of the things that I try to do is to do things to others which I would have loved to have been done to me, okay? uh, so I'm an absorber for knowledge, experiences, and when in my times, I thought I could have done, um I would have really loved to have those insights. I decided that, okay, you know what, there are people who are 10 years, where I was 10 years back, there are people out there. Where I was 5 years back, there are people out there. Where I was 20 years back, there are people out there, and probably they are looking for the real experiences, the real insights, the real case studies, okay, which I have gone through, but they haven't yet. Okay, and can they learn from it? So, um, uh, so the big why for me was to pay forward to all those people who are where I was many years back, X years back. Okay, and see if, like, if I can add some value to them and connect with them at a certain level. And I think the moment you convert this transition, you're thinking from that I want to build an image, or I want to be known, or popular on LinkedIn. You shift it from that towards that I want to add value to youngsters, people who are uh, who are where I was long back in my career. That really gives a good meaning to present on LinkedIn, right, and to share your experiences. Yeah. So another mental model that I can think of in the same vein is talk to your younger self, right? So um, I've read some books, where the author actually talks to, and it's kind of a a storytelling method in which the author talks to himself, who's 15 years younger. So it's like a a man to boy kind of talk, and I really loved those. I really loved that style of narration or that style of storytelling, and that's again a very powerful way to connect with your audience, connect with people who are behind you, who are younger to you, and see whether how your experiences can add value to them. So when you talk to your younger self, you're actually talking to a lot of people out there, who are actually your younger self in present times. Okay. And yeah, I think the biggest one of them, which underlines my purpose of being there, my purpose of talking to people on a sort of daily basis, conducting these clarity chats, is to pay forward. So it's to contribute to the next generation, contribute to other people. I've been fortunate. I came from a very humble background, uh, and the the nature and universe has been very generous to me in terms of where I am today, and it has been a result of many people's blessings, sponsorships, support. Many times, many times protecting me when I made when I made mistakes, and I approach this entire thing with gratitude. That there was so much going for me as I was kind of rising in life, and one way to display that gratitude is to simply help others, pay forward, and add value to all of you. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Now I also have some I also have learned from some pitfalls on LinkedIn, and let me talk about them. And I must say that I have made those mistakes, and therefore I can tell you that don't make those mistakes. Okay. So the first don't I have is don't go after likes. Okay. It's a very, I would say, dopamine addition to your body when you get a like. Gives me as well. I mean, even today I feel good, when I get many likes. Sometimes I feel bad, when something I write doesn't really connect with you and you don't give it the likes. But I think it has to be beyond that, and likes is not the purpose why someone writes on LinkedIn. I think, as I mentioned earlier, the purpose has to be deeper. The purpose has to add value. Well, you add value, you get likes. I mean, so if you don't get likes, don't feel bad. It's just that, like, people didn't see value in that content, right? The second no I have is strict no is WhatsApp University. Okay. I see it happening so much on LinkedIn today, and that's where people um, complain that LinkedIn is becoming like a Facebook. Is where there's so much that's coming into your WhatsApp groups, and you simply post it on LinkedIn with some comment or some philosophizing on that. Never do it. If you go to my first to do, which is be yourself. I think being yourself means that you have to talk about who you are, not about what you get from a WhatsApp. um, it does give you likes, and that's why my first don't was don't go after likes. It does give you likes, it does give you views, but it's not who you are. It's not in your experience. It's in somebody else's experience. Somebody else has done that, and you are basically borrowing someone else's work to get yourself the likes and views. A lot of what you will what you will read or hear in people talking about, like, how to develop a strong LinkedIn presence might include that. But my personal learning is that it's a no. Okay, you have to be original. Okay. The next one is again a logical next point from what I just said, which is, don't be inauthentic. Okay. Um, what is authentic? Authentic is, again, like, who you are, what you represent, okay, what you stand for, what you have done, what you have learned. So things that are in your personal experience are what make you, and that's what is authentic. Anything which is second hand or third hand is not authentic. So be authentic, and I think one of the most solid personal brands that you can make for yourself is when you're authentic. Okay. Next one is be relevant. Don't be irrelevant. Now, what's relevant or irrelevant? I mean, no, I represent. Uh, uh, I talk about things, or, like, I share something which is not what I want to be looked at. That's irrelevant. Something that people are not looking for, that's irrelevant. I can share a recent mistake here, which I did was, like, I had this real aha with my niece, where she found a spider hanging somewhere in the balcony, and wondering how is this guy hanging out there. And we basically did a spray mist, with a Colin bottle, water in it, and this kind of this spray stuck to the web, and wow, that was a sight to behold. Clicked the picture of it, posted on LinkedIn. Didn't really get much response. I'm like, and my daughter actually told me that how is this relevant to what you do on LinkedIn, what you post on LinkedIn? And I'm like, yeah, makes sense. Let me take that feedback, and I won't repeat it. Okay, so yes, it was interesting. It was original. It was following a lot of other tick boxes, but it wasn't authentic. Okay, I mean, sorry, it wasn't relevant to what I talk about, to what I share my knowledge uh, on, etc. Okay. Um, Try to be popular. Next one. Don't try to be popular. I think popularity should come out of what you do, not by an extraneous effort of trying to be popular. And um, a lot of what I have put in the don'ts here, don't forward WhatsApp, don't be inauthentic, don't be relevant. A lot of these things can sometimes happen because you are trying to be popular. So don't go after. It's not a popularity contest out there. It is about building your brand. It is about contributing by building. It is building your brand by contributing, by adding value to people, and not just a popularity context, right? Now, as you start doing as you start contributing more and more on LinkedIn, there's a danger that happened with me, that you may be spending all your time on LinkedIn, and once again, this was a feedback that came to me from my family that, hey, you're spending more time on LinkedIn than working. You're trying to respond to every single comment, and you're trying to you're looking at your likes and comments, and and your views and all that. It was harsh feedback for me, but it was feedback nonetheless, and I took that feedback seriously, thought about it, and then the next thing that I did was I kept LinkedIn outside of my home screen. What that means is that you choose the timing and bandwidth that you have to check LinkedIn. And I've switched off my LinkedIn notifications. LinkedIn keeps reminding me time and again that, hey, you have switched notifications, switched off notifications, switch it on. And I'm like, you know what? I don't want this to suck away all my time. If I'm looking at notifications, I would be probably all the time on my phone, uh, handling those notifications, handling those comments. So I choose the timing. I choose the how much time I want to spend on it. Okay, um, and I do engage with the audience, but not at the cost of other things. So those are some learnings, do's and don'ts. It's a bit of a summary. There are much longer courses available out there which you can take, but these are primarily coming from my experience. Okay, so let's see. We do have some people out here. Thank you, Sumit, for inviting everyone on my behalf. We have Saurabh Pandit from Singapore. Hey, Saurabh, good to see you here. Um, and good to see that you're in Singapore now. Okay. I have a LinkedIn user here. I don't know who you are. You can see how it comes up here. So please announce your name. And I know one of you is Vijay Sethi and one of you is Satya. So I don't know who's who. So is that you, Satya? If yes, then ask a question. Okay. Okay. Meanwhile, I have got one question from Snehanshu Jena. Snehanshu is asking, what's your advice to your younger self when you started as an IT leader? Please factor in the change times to help the young leaders today. Yeah. What's your advice to your younger self when you started as an IT leader? Okay. See, it's um, a bit of a longer answer, Snehanshu, so bear with me. I did not start out as an IT leader. I started as a business manager, and I was asked to be a subject matter expert, service subject matter expert in a CRM program, and um, and that kind of was my start into it. I was expected to be an SME, but then uh, the first advice that I would like to give you, which I thought of at that time, was to take accountability. Even though I was a subject matter expert, I took accountability of the overall larger outcome picture of the entire program, and I started getting involved, getting informed, getting involved, and putting my views out there wherever I felt that there is uh, the program. It is important for the program. My contribution is important for the program. Okay, so that's the first one. Take accountability, and sometimes it may mean going beyond what you have to do. The second one is that we all play a pivotal part in what we do. So uh, that is the core of why we are here in a particular role, and that core has to be done excellently to build your credibility, to build trust, and to bring dependability. So I was the service subject matter expert, and I think the amount of work I put in just to sort of streamline every aspect from the business side, whether it is converting the workshop requirements into what the technology could handle, um, Second was, a lot of master data coordination, looking at integrations with other service systems, and then collaborating with, the entire ecosystem of customer service, to make everything ready for CRM. So that was the other one that I did, and I think that gave me the credibility and trust for people to listen to me when I was talking about other things. The third one, Snehanshu, when you said factor in the change times to help the young leaders today, um, and I think I wrote a post about it earlier this week, is about, there's a best way of doing something. If you want to do it the second best way, uh, there are infinite other second best ways. There is just one best way. Okay. So when I was looking at whatever I was doing, I was looking at it from, hey, how is it done at scale? Okay. How are others doing it? Okay. And I was always questioning that why are we not doing it this way? So we started small, with a three-member team, and we slowly grew. And today it is much, much, much bigger operation. But it became that, and and I learned and I grew as a leader when I was always looking at someone who's doing better, who's doing it better than me. Okay, like for example, let me take a few examples here. When I was setting up the support process, I had in my mind that, hey, I'm getting, let's say, 100 support requests a day. Okay. How about someone who's getting, let's say, uh, 10,000 support requests a day? Where would that kind of operation be? And we figured out that, oh, yeah, telecom or banks would have that kind of operation. So, what kind of technologies would they be using? What kind of what kind of structures they will be using? How will they be managing cost and all that? And force ourselves to learn those things. And even though we reached there much later, in our mind and in terms of a roadmap, we knew that this is how we need to evolve, and we have the time because we are thinking of it ahead of time. So whatever I have done, I have thought about things ahead of time. I have thought about things happening at a different scale, okay, and pushed myself to learn that level of scale or that level of, I would say, complexity, right? So that's my second advice: that scale yourself up first in your mind, um, even if that scale or complexity is not there. Get yourself ready, learn about it, learn about what if I do what I'm doing today at a different scale, at a different level of complexity, and learn by those people who are doing it today itself. And someone is doing it at a different level of scale and complexity. The third thing is, there's no alternative to certain formal learnings and frameworks. Okay, so way back, um, when I had to, when I had to manage Tata Motors IT, um, I started looking at, uh, what are the frameworks which will help me manage it. I don't have to invent my management framework. I can adopt a management framework. So looked at ITIL, loved it. There was already a program going on. Just made sure that everyone learns ITIL V3 in the organization, and we adopt those processes and best practices. And that really helped because that freed up a lot of my time into doing the transformational work than just running operations, right? So so that's the next one, that learn those frameworks which improve your effectiveness in today's time. At that time, I also got everyone trained on PMP, and in the change times, if you ask me today, I would train everyone on Agile. Actually, we ended up doing that. We trained everyone on PMP and on project management formal methodologies, And 10 years later, we ended up training 40 to 50 people on agile methodology. So yeah, not just learn yourself, but also take the team along. You got to train your team. You have to understand that for people to understand you, you also have to bring people up to the same level. Only you improving your level will not work. Okay. So finally, um, my biggest advice would be always calibrate yourself with respect to the outcomes. What is the impact of your work? It cannot be that I'm working 14 hours a day, 15 hours a day. It cannot be that we have done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 things, but it always has to be that how has the needle moved on the business performance, right? And many times you will find that there are small little things that we do, which can really impact business outcomes in a very different way. So when you're looking at from a business outcome point of view, and you will be able to optimize your efforts in such a way that you do things which are very high impact, okay, and not necessarily the things that make you look working harder. I hope these things help, Snehanshu. Let me know if you think there's something more important which I missed. Okay. So I have Srinath. Hey, Srinath. Thank you for joining us. Siddharth, Oja. Okay, so Siddharth, you were following me in my footsteps. I was the first service subject matter expert, and a few years later, Siddharth joined as the service subject matter expert. So thanks, Siddharth, for attending. Thank you, Dr. LABH Singh, for attending. Sunil, uh, amazing persistence. He asked me anything sessions, portrait, knowledge, and confidence. Hey, thank you, Sunil Bhai, for that. Yeah, maybe I'm sure you and I can discuss a lot of things under the sun. Um I don't. Uh, I don't claim to be an expert in everything. If that comes across as AMA, as a confidence, but yeah, whatever I can try, whatever I can try, right? Okay. So, Dr. Lap Singh is asking a question. Don't you think that break-even point will decide how fast you scale, lest you may vanish? That's an interesting question, Dr. Saab. Dr. Saab, if I understand this correctly, um, what an assumption, underlying assumption to what you're saying is that you can scale up and a break-even point will come beyond which you will either burn out or you will vanish, right? My response to that is uh, don't look at it as an individual. Look at yourself as a leader, who's also taking people along. So for me, the scaling up is unlimited. So let us say, what is my break point? Okay, my break point is when I'm handling a team of, let's say, 500 people. Aren't there people in out there who are handling, let's say, 5,000 people team or a 50,000 people team? Why are they not breaking? Why should I break at 500? So immediately, the moment we start thinking like this, and again, this is something I was elaborating on. The moment I start thinking like this, I start learning from the person who's handling a 5,000 member team. The moment I start thinking like this, I start researching people who are handling 50,000 member teams. Okay, and that helps me learn to scale up. Not necessarily that I can always Google my way around, but it's also like I can go back to my HR or my boss saying that, listen, I mean, the way we are growing, I'm going to be burning out. I'm going to reach my break even point. I need further inputs. Those inputs could be that I want to do a management course, or I need my second line, a stronger second line. Actually, that happened with me when I created as a CIO, when I created a big agenda. For a couple of years, for first 2 3 years, I ran sort of alone and with my small team. But afterwards, we ended up creating an IT strategy and an agenda which was impossible to run without a very strong second line, which was to be people of the same caliber that I was as a CIO. I went back to my bosses with a structure and said, listen, whatever we have done, if we have to execute it and get those outcomes, we need this kind of a team. From a 2 level team, we need to go to a 3 level team. And they supported me. The point is that the planning, the visualization, the planning, everything has to be done by you. And if you do a good job, then um, it's logical that your seniors will support you, right? Okay, so we have a comment from Srinath. So Srinath, this is about adoption of IT in manufacturing, specifically India being leaders in IT services. Indian manufacturers still has not used much of that leverage, and neither have service providers focused on it in India, as there is better money outside. How do you explain this, and what can be done about it for our strengths to benefit our country? Yeah, Srinath, this is true. I call it Chirag Tale Andhera, darkness below the lamp. So Indian IT serves the entire world, but the level of IT sophistication that we have in India is not as good. Yeah, I mean, you the best people go where the money is, and the billings are in USD and Euro elsewhere, and that's where your talent is going. So one of the things that I kept talking internally when I used to be in a CIO role is that, listen, we should be thinking differently about how well we pay our IT suppliers. See, as an employer, we are paying the best to get talented people. Why shouldn't the same be with your IT suppliers? Where if they see that there's a huge delta between the billing that they get in US versus what you get, what you are willing to pay them in India, there's going to be a gap. Okay, so I have always been a sort of a promoter of talent, and paying well for talent, whether that the talent comes as an employee or as a consultant from my IT partner. Okay. So I think the other thing in manufacturing, Srinath, when I went to US first time in 2003, and I saw the level of automation there, and I started thinking, from first principles as to, why there is such a big gap between what I see in India and what we see here. And the answer was quick, which was basically, your labor cost, your arbitrage. Um, the ROI on automation or technology in Western countries with high cost of living, I would not single out US here. I'll say in any country which has got high cost of living, which has got high labor rates, there will be a huge appreciation for technology, because that's how much it allows you to save. Your time, your returns are much faster. Whereas in India, we tend to take that opinion that we tend to work on the opinion that I can throw people at work, or I can throw people at quality, or I can throw people if my productivity is low. It works to a certain level, but I think as the level of technology, as the level of efficiency, quality, the customer expectations keep going up, I don't see that being an option anymore, that you can simply throw people at business problems. Okay. So, yeah. Another question from Pramod. Uh, Srinath, tell me if there's something that I missed there. So I'm always looking for feedback on whether what I'm saying makes sense or not. Okay. So, Pramod, your question is what was triggering point moving from corporate leadership to mentorship, entrepreneurship, Clarity Chat platform since you had bigger leadership roles and big perks. Your experience shall inspire many people try something different and leverage their respective skills, knowledge, and experience. So, Pramod, great question. It has been asked to me many a times. So let me answer it again. So the trigger point was when I was coming out of my CIO role. I did have some offers, and when I kind of um, deep dived into what I had to do, it was actually I had to, in each of those CIO roles, I had to reset myself to that level where I started as a CIO at Tata Motors, and then walk through the same transformation story, which is like streamline the operations, create a strategy, bring the leadership along, etc., etc., and do it all over again. And many times in not in the friendliest of conditions. So my point was that I mean, how many times do you have to do something? Okay, is if you're doing it just for livelihood, um, you can do it again and again and again, right? Do the same, run the same transformation story again and again for more money in different companies. And but that was something which didn't really, which I couldn't digest because um, I'm not a cookie cutter, who will keep doing these transformations one after the other, the same stories. And I wanted to, so my first assumption was that, like, if I come out in a non-executive role, one is I'll have more time for myself, an assumption which has come out to be true. The second point was that, I'll have to deal with less bureaucracy, less corporate politics, and whatever I do, the in all our work, if you look at the value adding time, right? So in my 8 hours of 10 hours of work that I do in a day, uh, when I am an individual contributor, when I'm way down the line, I think the productive part is like 8 hours, and the non-productive part, handling the organization, handling the politics, handling the administrative activities, handling approvals, etc., maybe about like 1 to 2 hours. But as you keep going up, this proportion keeps changing, and that's another thing that I hated was that the amount of time that I thought I'm adding value was becoming lesser and lesser in proportion to administrative approvals and bringing stakeholders along, aligning people and a whole host of those things. uh, you know it's not that I could not do it, I could do it well, but the question for me was, do I really want to do it, or do I want to add tangible value with what time I spend? um, so you're right, bigger leadership roles, big perks. But I mean, I always keep telling people that if I was after money, I wouldn't spend 23 years in the same organization. The point has always been about making an impact, adding some value. And that has also been, the theme behind trying out different things, whether it's contributing on LinkedIn, whether it is mentoring people, you know, unconditionally, um, and the whole platform has got bigger for me. Yes, of course the money is lesser, but I feel more satisfied, and of course it allows me to play golf more. Okay. Yeah, so let's move on. Uh, so Muthu says, almost missed this, I'm a fan of your program. Thanks, Muthu. We had picked up a question from you. We'll probably come to that as well. It's we have about 11 minutes left. Yeah. Okay. So since Muthu is here, let me pick up one question from him, which is, what are the key skills that help you navigate to outcomes? So Muthu, you asked it in the last Clarity Chat, and we couldn't pick it up, but I noticed the question. It was a very good question. Um, can you bring it up, Vinay? What are the key skills that help you navigate to outcomes? So, Muthu, in my view, four key skills. The first one is the planning skills. Okay. Again, I look at things from a first principle point of view. In first principle point of view, when you say planning skills, what does it mean? In my view, it is visualizing your way into the future. So I'll give you an example. Um, Long back when there was no Google Maps, we used to go around. I used to take my car and my family around, and I used to have this huge, big map, okay, of Maharashtra. And in that map, I would trace out my route that okay, if I have to go, from here to Nasik, which towns will come along. Then from Nasik to Sedi, then so I will map out the entire route, and sometimes like I'll do a variation that the route that we go from the same route we didn't come back from. We take a different route to come back, and we used to map out these specific transition points that okay, I need to take a left turn from this particular place. Now that's visualization, right? So that's planning. That do you have a mental map of what you are going to do? Have you planned out milestones? Have you planned out routes? Have you planned out time? How much time will each of these activities take? When will I call this activity complete, etc., etc.? I think that's the most important skill. The planning skill is the most important skill because um, that's how well you can visualize your path. The second is that in a corporate context, you cannot just run alone. So what you need is people skills, okay, which is taking people along and aligning them. Now here, uh, something that has stuck to me is a visual where there's this guy who's telling his people that hey, go collect wood from the jungle, okay, and people are doing that, but there's the same guy who's telling it in a different way that hey, collect the wood from the jungle, we got to build a boat and we got to sail into distant seas. Tell me where will be your the excitement or the energy of people more. It is when they know why they are working. So uh, a critical part of your people skill, whether it's your own people or your partner people, is to show them the why, a compelling why of what you're doing, and your ability to excite them, because all your corporate alignment stuff doesn't work. You get people excited, the alignment comes automatically. So here you also have to look at your own personal demeanor. When you come across people, are they excited to see you, or do they get energized when they see you around? They should, okay. And if you are able to bring that energy and that excitement to people, that they're waiting for you to come around and like and sort of guide them, half of your battle is won. Okay, so in people skills, your own personal energy that you bring to the table, and second is your ability to show people the bigger picture. Then comes your execution skills, which is getting things done. Getting things done means like in a practical scenario, it's like negotiating. Okay, so to get something done, sometimes you got to give something. So are you willing to do that? Are you willing to go shoulder to shoulder with your people when they are getting it done, or are you simply ordering your way around? So I remember my first um, you know test after I became the CIO was we had sort of a crisis that the SAP went very slow, uh, and someone had to make sure that the half year billing gets done, and the entire organization is looking up to us as IT department that um, thing. And I think that burden of expectations has to be borne on your shoulder as a leader. So we had two options. One is to go to a garden restaurant a kilometer from the place and and have a couple of beers, or the second one was to go to the basis room and sit with the team and make sure that we ride over the crisis. I actually opted for the second one. I overruled my other colleagues. I opted for the second one, and I said we are going to be in the basis room. 10 o'clock we were in the basis room and we were doing crisis management from there. So that's your execution skills, getting things done, rolling up your sleeves, working shoulder to shoulder with your teams and just getting it done. And of course, holding people accountable when you're doing that. Not that everything can ride just on your shoulders, right? And finally, I think, and this is one of the most overlooked skills, is an eye for risk. Okay. Um, if you ask me, let's say 30 to 40% of what I call as my success is my eye for risk, is that knack of identifying what can go wrong and then proactively going after those, closing out those factors, right? So before something gets torn, you go and stitch it beforehand. If you know that some stakeholder is going to go bonkers, he doesn't like you, or he doesn't like what's happening, this guy is going to put a spanner in the works right at the time of go live. So before you go live, you go engage, convince, take him out for a drink, or do whatever to bring this person along, right? So that's just like from a people risk point of view. And there are many other things which could go wrong. The idea is to, while everyone else keeps doing what they are doing, as a leader, your eye for risk helps you make sure that those risks, they don't pan out whenever you reach there. Okay, so you're proactive about it. Okay, so there is one uh, point from Muthu saying that, would you add to that list well defined and accepted outcomes during planning? Oh, that was such a miss, Muthu. I'm like, thanks for adding that. I think that's the starting point. The starting point is, be clear about the outcomes. Be clear about the outcomes, and then the rest of the things fall into place, right? Yeah. So there's some additional points from Muthu. Risk assessment, I call them safe exits you can get back, versus hard exits you cannot get back from. Yes, absolutely. Um, the safe exits and hard exits, those are important points, Muthu. So uh, well, I think we are right at the hour. 2 more minutes to go. I had a video clip for you, but I think we'll save it for another day, for another Ask Me Anything session. For today, I think it has been a great interactive session. Thank you, everyone, for asking questions, for engaging, and for interacting. I do have many questions here, but yeah, as I said, we'll save them for another day. And all of you who are watching the recording, thanks to you as well. Everyone, please enjoy your family time. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you again next week. And well, our issue with the streaming tool has been fixed for an year. I know next July we'll again get into some a similar issue. I might have to use somebody else's credit card, or I hope that these guys, they comply to the RBI policy of credit cards, and we don't face a similar issue. This is for those of you who joined late. This is issue with our streaming subscription, which we could resolve only today morning by using a US credit card, and that's how we could make this session happen. So, thank you everyone once again. Have a great weekend. See you next Saturday. Bye bye.